During the difficult childbirth, the doctor asked my husband to sign the critical illness notice. However, he was comforting his first love instead. "Don't worry. I'll definitely make her continue giving birth. I'll never let her stand on the stage again," he said. It turned out that my marriage was a carefully arranged scam, just to make way for his first love, who was also a dancer. I tried my best to lose weight and wanted to make a comeback, but my husband and son tried their hardest to suppress me. My son said in disgust, "Mom, you look like a pig when you dance." My husband also frowned and said, "Don't go out and make a fool of yourself in your current state." They were both afraid that his first love would be wronged. I left everything behind and ran forward desperately. Finally, on the day when I stood on the podium, the spotlight shone on me. Everyone clapped vigorously, but my husband and son were in tears. When I was in a daze during the difficult childbirth and the doctor was constantly performing first aid, my husband, who was accompanying me in the delivery room, called his first love. "Don't worry. Although this baby is having a difficult delivery, I'll definitely make her continue giving birth. I won't let her stand on the stage," he said. "With me here, you can pursue your dreams without worry." I tried my best to open my eyes and used all my strength to give birth to the child. The child had been deprived of oxygen for too long and didn't breathe when born. The doctor could only let us take a look. Oliver looked indifferent and didn't show the slightest bit of heartache. "It's okay. We'll have other children," he said. "Oliver, I heard you on the phone when I was unconscious just now," I said. I was so shocked and heartbroken that I just wanted to expose him directly. "Having children one after another so that it won't interfere with Sophia's career, right?" Oliver's eyes showed a hint of panic, but he quickly regained his composure. "Are you confused? When did I say such a thing?" He touched my sweaty hair. "Have a good rest. Don't think about these unfounded things all day long," he said. After saying that, he turned around and walked away. I used all my strength to grab a water cup and threw it at him. "Oliver. I'm not a fool." Oliver was hit by me and staggered, but he didn't look back. In the following days, no matter what I said, he didn't respond at all and was determined to handle it coldly. He took care of me personally every day, as if he were still the gentle and considerate good husband he used to be. Looking at him bustling around, I couldn't help sneering. "You take so much trouble to take care of me. Do you want me to recover quickly and then continue giving birth? What if I say I want to go back to the dance troupe?" Oliver was stunned for a moment and directly avoided my interrogative eyes. "Evelyn, Oscar is too lonely by himself. Do you have the heart to let him face everything in the Oliver family alone? You used to always feel sorry for him being too tired. Wouldn't it be a good thing to have a few more children to share the burden?" Oliver brought up our son Oscar but ignored what I said about wanting to dance. "Oscar? I feel sorry for him. Has he ever felt sorry for me? I hurt my body during the difficult childbirth. I've been in the hospital for so many days. Has he come to see me once?" Oliver was a bit impatient. "Oscar is in class. Besides, I've already left my job to take care of you, Evelyn. I know you're emotionally unstable after losing the child, but can't you be a bit more obedient?" "No, I'll be discharged from the hospital in a few days. After that, let's get a divorce," I sneered. "I'll follow the prenuptial agreement for the division of property. I don't want you or our son anymore. I'm a dancer." I met Oliver at the peak of my career. He's the typical young master of the Beijing elite circle, a wealthy young heir. He fell in love with me at first sight and launched a crazy pursuit of me. I didn't originally want to get married so soon, but my mother, who I depended on, suddenly fell from a building. She was lying in the ICU, on the verge of death, and urgently needed a large sum of money for treatment. I married Oliver and saved my mother's life. In the years after marriage, he treated me extremely well. I originally thought that I was lucky. Until I found out from Oliver's diary. It turned out that he had loved Sophia but couldn't be with her and had silently guarded her for many years. And Sophia and I were the biggest competitors in the dance troupe. Perhaps from the very beginning, some things were just wrong. I asked a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. After the confinement period, I went straight to Oliver's company to find him. Unexpectedly, I met Sophia in his office. She was having lunch with our son and Oliver. The joy on Oscar's face was something I had never seen in all the years I took care of him. When Oliver saw me, he frowned deeply. "Why aren't you at home taking care of yourself? What are you doing here?" he asked. "I'm here to give you the divorce agreement." I said, "I want a divorce, and I'm serious. Sign it quickly." "It makes me sick to see you eating," I said. Sophia slowly put down the knife and fork in her hands and slowly stood up. Her good figure and superior appearance were so dazzling that I couldn't take my eyes off her. Once, I was like that too. But after marriage, taking care of the children and managing the household chores left me no time to take care of myself. Oliver didn't like me to pursue beauty. He always advised me to focus on the children. "If you're too thin, you won't be able to carry the children. Moreover, you're already married, so don't show your face outside," he said. Oliver snatched the document from my hand and put it into the shredder. "Evelyn, can you stop making a fuss? I've said that there's nothing between Sophia and me. I know you're in a bad mood after just losing the child, but can't you stop attracting my attention in this way? Sophia has many performances, I have a lot of work, and Oscar also has a bunch of courses waiting. Not everyone is as idle as you, messing around with these boring things every day. Go back quickly. I'll just pretend that I didn't hear what you said about the divorce. Oscar wants to eat shrimp and beef soup tonight. Go back and prepare it when you're feeling better." Sophia sneered and said, "Mrs. Oliver, just be a good housewife. My mind is only on dancing. I don't have time to compete with you." I looked at the self-righteous man in front of me with some amusement. My eyes swept over Sophia's designer bags and jewelry. "Sophia, as far as I remember, your family background was quite ordinary too. No matter how high the salary of a dancer is, it can't afford all these high-fashion couture items on you. Oliver, I don't have time to waste words with you. Don't play dumb with me anymore. Sign it quickly. Otherwise, I'll go to court to sue for divorce and also sue Sophia to return the marital property to me." Oliver and Sophia were stunned, and our son beside them suddenly let out a scream. "Bad mommy. Don't you dare bully Aunt Sophia. You're just an old, ugly, and fat sow. All you can do is spend Daddy's money. I hate you." Oscar rushed over like a cannonball and bumped into my stomach. I collapsed to the ground in pain, and he took the opportunity to keep hitting me with his little fists. "Bad mommy. Bad mommy." I pushed him away with force, and Oliver immediately protected Oscar lovingly. But he didn't care that I was already bleeding under me. He picked up Oscar and warned me, "Evelyn, enough is enough." Then he turned around and strode out of the office. "How about it? Daddy, am I brave? I'm going to protect you and Aunt Sophia." "All right, little rascal. Does it hurt from the fall? Later, Daddy will take you and Aunt Sophia to eat cupcakes, okay?" "Yeah. Daddy is so nice." The sounds of laughter faded away. Only the assistant looked at me sympathetically. "Madam, shall I take you to the hospital?" I managed to stand up. "Don't call me madam anymore. I will firmly remember the pain and humiliation of today. Even if I encounter greater difficulties in the future, I will grit my teeth and persevere. I swear that I will definitely stand on the stage again. I will never let myself be wronged again." I found a dance practice studio and started building my foundation from scratch. Sophia got wind of it and deliberately brought Oscar to see me. "Junior sister, I advise you not to waste your efforts. You're already a housewife. Just focus on your home honestly." Oscar held her hand, lowered his head, and licked the ice cream in his hand. He was very obedient and clung to her side. Sophia showed off to me smugly. "So what if you were a good dancer back then? Now you've disappeared without a trace. Even your own child likes me better." She shook her head. "Evelyn, oh Evelyn, this is all there is to your life." Oscar echoed loudly beside her, "I hate you. I want Aunt Sophia to be my mommy." The woman in the mirror had a plain face with a bun hairstyle, a chubby figure, and swollen legs. There was indeed a big difference compared to Sophia. I suddenly remembered a painting Oscar had drawn before. In the picture, there was a prince and a graceful white swan, but in the corner, there was a fat and black pig. On the prince and the swan, Oscar drew a big heart. But on the pig, he put a big cross. Sophia kept taunting me. But even though I was sweating profusely, I didn't stop practicing. A trace of anxiety appeared on her face. Evelyn, you're not allowed to practice anymore. Not allowed to practice anymore. Oliver promised me that the principal dancer can only be me. Even if you make a comeback, he won't let you dance. You'll never be better than me. I played a piece of music, and the familiar melody made Sophia's face turn pale all of a sudden. Really? What if I report that the current principal dancer is actually a habitual plagiarist? Back then, when I got married and had a child, Sophia won various awards with an original dance piece. No one knew that it was my original work. I danced it as a gift for Oliver on his birthday. Last Chishi festival, on the day when I found out that I was pregnant with my second child, Oliver rarely posted a moment's update. He said, "With me here, you'll never have any worries." I originally thought it was his rare sweet words to me and felt that everything was worth it. Now that I think about it, when I was pregnant with my second child, he just wanted to make Sophia happy. Because he fulfilled his promise to Sophia, to make sure that I could never make a comeback. In this way, Sophia's career would never have any worries. I focused on rehabilitation and practicing dance, and at the same time contacted a lawyer. Since Oliver didn't agree to the divorce, I would sue for divorce. Dance is a very special sport. During the process of dancing, I felt that my body and mind came back to life again. Even though my figure isn't up to standard yet and my dance isn't perfect either. But I've already taken the hardest step. When I was going back to my rental house, I met Oliver smoking downstairs. He threw away the cigarette in his hand, and his bloodshot eyes stared at me tightly. "Did you take Auntie out of the hospital?" After my mother woke up, she was paralyzed. In these years, I was busy taking care of Oscar, and Oliver never let me visit her. He only allowed me to make a few video calls during holidays. After I moved out, I went to handle the discharge procedures for my mother. My mother was sitting in a wheelchair, but her hands hugged me tightly. Baby, Mom, Mrs. You." She spoke in a trembling voice and it took her a long time to say a sentence, but it made my eyes turn red. Oliver looked at me disapprovingly. "Auntie's health is not good. How can you take care of her after leaving the hospital?" "I hired professional caregivers. Isn't it better for her to stay in the hospital? Go home quickly. I've said that there's nothing between Sophia and me. Do you still want to dance? Do you have the heart to leave our son in the care of a nanny?" A series of rhetorical questions, as if I were an extremely evil sinner. I didn't even want to look up at him. "I'll pay you back the money for my mother's treatment. As for whether it's more suitable for her to stay in the hospital, Oliver, you know it in your heart. In these years, my mother was just a bargaining chip you used to control me. I've said that I don't want you or our son. If you're still unwilling to divorce, then I'll see you in court." After that, Oliver came to see me countless times, and his words were all about trying to win me back. Countless people joked that I had a devoted husband. There were also some people who advised me to stop while I was ahead. "Oliver is in such good conditions. Don't go too far with your tantrums." Because I didn't have my own career, and the skills that I used to rely on for a living were useless now, in the eyes of others, I was just a daughter flower that depended on my husband. I had no value or pursuit of my own. During the day, I worked, and during the lunch break, I went back and forth to take care of my mother at home. At night, I stayed up late to analyze dances, practice dancing, and review the basic skills. I didn't pay any attention to Oliver at all. Until he brought over Oscar, who had a fever. Oscar already knows he's wrong. He's sick. "Can he stay with you for 2 days?" Oscar also rarely showed weakness. "Mom, I'm sorry. I feel so uncomfortable. I want to eat the porridge made by Mom." I sighed and let him in. After all, he was the child I had raised with my own hands. Mom had been staying in the hospital and hadn't seen him yet. When Mom saw Oscar, she was very pleasantly surprised. She pointed at him and then at me. Looks like you. Mom is happy. Oscar sat aside with no expression on his face. After settling him down, I set off to the supermarket to buy beef. Halfway through, I suddenly felt flustered and instinctively opened the surveillance camera. I bought that surveillance camera to keep an eye on Mom's condition when I wasn't at home. But now I saw a scene that made my blood boil. Oscar was hitting and biting Mom, who was lying on the bed. Even a 4-year-old child could be quite strong. Mom was paralyzed and couldn't move. She could only make whimpering sounds from her mouth. It's all your fault. That old sow has to take care of you and can't take care of me anymore. She's my mommy alone. It's all your fault. Why don't you just die? If you die, she'll come home. As long as she comes home, Daddy will be happy and Aunt Sophia will be happy too. When Oscar tried to lift the plastic stool beside the bed and smash it at Mom, I rushed back home. After helping Mom deal with the wounds, I looked at Oscar, who had an indifferent look on his face. Oscar. I picked him up with one hand and slapped him hard twice. Then I picked up a broom and hit him hard. I really didn't expect that Oscar's mind had become so evil. Oscar let out shrill cries. It's all her fault. You should stay at home and take care of me. As long as she dies, you'll have to come home. Aunt Sophia can continue dancing. I'm not wrong. You have no right to hit me. I'm not wrong. The evil of a child is pure evil. I didn't show any mercy and hit him until Oscar didn't even have the strength to cry. There was fear in his eyes, and he began to beg for mercy constantly. I threw him out of the door and called Oliver. I also sent Oliver the video of Oscar hitting my mom. I sent it to the kindergarten class group and the community group. I wanted to remind everyone. And I also wanted Oscar to pay the price. Oliver was furious, but not at Oscar but at me. Oscar is still young and doesn't understand right and wrong. He was just angry at your mom for taking you away from him. If you had come home earlier, wouldn't this have happened? Evelyn, why are you fussing with a child? I flipped through the divorce agreement in my hand. There were several new items I had added. He's not a child. He's just an evil seed. Evelyn. It's okay that you hit Oscar so hard, but you also sent that video everywhere. Aren't you ashamed? Now Oscar doesn't even dare to go out. Do you know how much psychological shadow you've caused Oscar? Hurry up and take your mom back to the hospital and come back to apologize to Oscar. And, I suddenly interrupted Oliver. Oliver, where were you on the day I gave birth to Oscar, on our wedding anniversaries every year, and on our birthdays? Oliver paused for a moment and said impatiently, I'm very busy. Didn't I tell you that I was on a business trip? I smiled. No. On the day I gave birth to Oscar, you were in Paris accompanying Sophia in a competition. On our wedding anniversaries every year, which also happened to be Sophia's birthday, you were with her. After Oscar turned 1 year old, you even took Oscar with you to accompany her. On your birthday and on various festivals, you were probably with her, right? On my birthday every year, among so many gifts you gave me, half of them were tonics, which Sophia specially prepared for me. Do you want me to continue? Oliver was silent for a long time and finally spoke. Evelyn, I can explain all of this. I don't want to hear your explanation. I want to modify the previous divorce agreement. You are the one at fault in this marriage and should leave the house with nothing. Oliver's voice was hoarse. How did you know? Sophia likes taking pictures, right? She has an album and often shares it with Oscar. Oliver, didn't expect that, did you? Your son is looking forward to our divorce more than you are. Meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Oscar brought that album over yesterday. After being beaten, he was very unconvinced and took out that album directly. All the times when Oliver disappeared could find answers in that album. He had gone to accompany Sophia. My hands holding the album were shaking all the time. Even though I managed to get out in time, the sincerity I had given before was real. Who would like to see that their sincerity had been trampled on completely long ago? Oscar showed a malicious smile when he saw me lose my composure. He did it on purpose, looking forward to my sadness and using it to punish me. This was the right Oliver had given him. You don't have the right to hit me at all. I don't want you to be my mommy. I only want Aunt Sophia to be my mommy. Daddy doesn't like you at all. You're just a burden. Daddy often takes me to watch Aunt Sophia's performances. Only when we're beside Aunt Sophia are we the happiest. Daddy said that it won't be long before you'll come back on your own. Because if you leave Daddy, you're nothing. Mom, don't you think you can still go dancing? I tried hard to suppress my breathing. Oscar's intention was too obvious. I calmly returned the album to him. I decided to get a divorce because your father was at fault in the marriage and because my own child is an ungrateful wretch. I can't feel any love or happiness in this family. And I have the right to pursue happiness in the first place. Oscar, first of all, I'm myself, and then I'm your mom. But since you don't want me to be your mom so much, from now on, we'll sever the mother-child relationship. You can go to Sophia and ask her to be your mom. A trace of confusion flashed in Oscar's eyes, and he quickly lowered his head. This didn't seem to be what he wanted. After Oliver looked through the album, he finally agreed to sign the divorce agreement. His eyes were gloomy. Evelyn, since that's the case, I just hope you won't regret it. On the day I got the divorce certificate, I felt suddenly relieved. I changed my phone card, informed my former close friends, and then canceled my WeChat account. I just want to cut off all ties with the past and start anew. Oliver always disliked me going out. After marrying him, I gradually had less contact with my good friends. But tonight, it was rare for us to get together. Isabella swayed while holding a glass, looking confused. Ava, on the other hand, was silent and kept drinking one glass after another. After I couldn't help but speak up, these two finally stopped being silent and gave me a good scolding. Back then, you were the best dancer in our school. Look at what you've become now for the so-called love. After getting married, it was like you were out of touch. If Oliver hadn't been a bit famous, I would have suspected that you'd been abducted to northern Myanmar. How did I advise you back then? Sympathizing with a scumbag will bring you bad luck for 8 lifetimes. They kept ranting like machine guns, and I was standing aside, smiling bitterly and begging for mercy. Yeah, I should have stayed away from men like you too long ago. Maybe I would have become a rich woman by now. Ha ha ha. Isabella turned around and took another bottle of wine, sighing deeply. Evelyn, the error tolerance rate in life is higher than you think. External circumstances will only affect you when you allow them to. Growth and comfort can't coexist. Since you've made a choice, then move forward firmly. Don't worry about failure when doing things. Set a goal, fulfill it, and achieve it. She forwarded a contact to me. This is a former colleague of mine. He's currently preparing a dance variety show. I asked him to reserve an interview opportunity for you. If you've made up your mind, you can contact him. I was a bit distracted when looking at that message. The interview was scheduled for 1 month later. But my weight hadn't yet reached the standard for a dance student. I hadn't practiced the basic skills solidly enough, and I hadn't refined the details of the dance pieces. I definitely couldn't back down. I made a strict practice plan for myself. I quickly contacted an agent and bought a second-hand house that I liked. The previous owner was a dance teacher, so there was a dance room specially for practice at home. I moved in with Mom. I practiced dancing actively, and Mom was actively doing rehabilitation. Mom had heard all the conversation between Oscar and me last time. When I took her to the hospital for an examination, Mom kept crying. Mom is useless. Mom is dragging you down. I hugged Mom tightly, feeling the warmth in her arms. I told her again and again. It's not you who's dragging me down. It's me who's holding myself back. I thought marriage was a shortcut, and a life without worrying about food and clothing was a gift from God. I placed my hopes on others. That's why I was hurt so badly. The closer it was to the interview, the tighter my schedule became. Out of 24 hours a day, I spent 23 hours in the practice room. My clothes were wet and then dried and then wet again. Even when I was eating, I was still reviewing my practice videos. I used to be the best dancer. I was the leader in the group dance and stood in the center of the stage. But now, looking at myself, I was much worse than the dancers on the edge back then. Even so, I was willing to start over again and again. I began to post my changes on the short video platform. Many warm-hearted netizens encouraged me under my videos every day. They gave me suggestions and taught me skills. On the day when I passed the interview successfully, I couldn't help crying with joy. This was the first step I took for myself. Even though I might just be a marginal figure who only appeared in a few episodes, I could finally stand on the stage again. However, I didn't expect to meet Oliver and Sophia at the kickoff banquet of the variety show. As soon as Oliver arrived, the producer led us to greet him. "President Oliver, you've come with Sophia. I'm sorry for not greeting you properly. These are all the contestants of our variety show this time. Look, they're all excellent." The producer led us to say hello one by one. When it was my turn, Oliver showed an impatient expression. "They're indeed good, but this one, I'm afraid, is not quite qualified." Sophia also spoke up beside him. "The metabolism in the dance industry is too fast. People at Evelyn's age should generally become teachers or be at the forefront of dance troupes. Why is Evelyn still competing with a group of 20-year-old girls here?" The producer tried to smooth things over for me bravely. "President Oliver, you may not know this. This one was the principal dancer of a dance troupe several years ago. Although she's a bit older, her original creation ability is particularly strong, and her dance awareness is also very good." The producer looked at Oliver nervously. The other contestants seemed to understand that the sponsor didn't like me and quietly distanced themselves from me. Oliver was obviously satisfied with the situation that everyone was keeping away from me. "Evelyn, look, no one wants to be close to you at all. I advise you to give up your unrealistic dance dream as soon as possible and go back home early." He then turned to the producer and threatened, "The positioning of this variety show is for youthful campus dancers. If the production team insists on using Evelyn, I'll withdraw my investment in the show." The producer's face looked ugly, and he was in a difficult position looking at me. Oliver stood arrogantly aside, just like countless times in the past, waiting for me to compromise with him. "President Oliver isn't investing anymore? That's just right. I'll invest an additional 20 million yuan. I'll invest in the whole project." A gentle woody fragrance wafted over, and Ethan stood beside me. "I just like experienced dancers like Evelyn. Some people are fickle and are born blind." Oliver stared fixedly at Ethan's hand on my shoulder. "Evelyn, did you divorce me because of him?" His sarcastic look was too obvious, and I couldn't help but retort. "Oliver, I'm not like you. I don't have the hobby of cheating during marriage." The producer and the contestants beside them had expressions as if they had just heard some juicy gossip. Ethan chimed in beside me. "I don't know if President Oliver has ever heard a saying that those who treat their wives badly will never be prosperous in business. President Oliver should be careful with his business in the future." Oliver wanted to refute but was afraid of the power of Ethan's family. He could only shut his mouth resentfully and leave with Sophia. When the crowd dispersed, I quickly distanced myself from Ethan. He pouted, looking aggrieved. "Teacher Evelyn, what are you doing?" "I just stood up for you. I met Ethan by chance on the road. Before, I had practiced dancing for too long and had low blood sugar when I went out. Ethan took me to the hospital. Since then, he had been pestering me and calling me Teacher Evelyn. He insisted that I teach him to dance. Ethan, I'm very busy now. It's not good for you to get involved with me." I was truly grateful to Ethan for his help from the bottom of my heart. However, I won't rely on any man in my life anymore. I must carve out my own path. Even if it's very difficult. I smoothly started recording the variety show. At the beginning, the other contestants were reluctant to approach me. But I didn't give up. I humbly asked them for advice. Besides the necessary practice time, I spent the rest of my time choreographing. At first, I added a few 8-beat creative ideas to the group dance. Later, these short segments became very popular on short video platforms. I won the recognition of the other young contestants. I also got more exposure and more autonomy. Finally, I got the chance to perform a solo dance of my own. I practiced day and night and kept making adjustments in front of the mirror. The day before the final, Oliver came to me with Oscar. Oscar had lost a lot of weight, and his little face was pale. He quietly watched me practice dancing and showed a flattering expression. "Mom, you look so beautiful when you dance." Oliver rarely softened his tone. "Oscar misses you very much. During the time you were away, he couldn't sleep well or eat well." "Evelyn," I've reflected. "I was wrong before. I didn't fulfill my duty as a husband. I'll stay away from Sophia in the future. Can our family live like before? If you want to dance, you can dance. You can also go out to work. You can also," Oliver said as he tried to hold my hand. I was so annoyed. "Stop talking nonsense. What on earth do you want?" "Oliver, both of us know clearly what kind of person you are. Never come to me without a good reason. Say what you have to say quickly and don't delay my practice." Oliver was slightly stunned when I pushed his hand away. After a long pause, he still managed to speak with difficulty. "Evelyn, I know you've always been very capable, but can you withdraw from the competition? Sophia has been crying a lot. She saved me, and I really have no choice. Can I take on all the debts she owes you? What about giving you shares, money, and love? Is that okay? As long as you..." I sneered and said, "As long as I give the stage back to Sophia? Is she that lacking in confidence? Give up this idea as soon as possible. It's impossible for me to quit the stage. I've already wasted several years of my life on you two, father and son. If you still have a bit of conscience, please stay away from me." I gave the order to leave without hesitation. Oliver's face looked a bit ugly, but he was still calm. It seemed that he had expected that I would refuse. "Evelyn, I'll agree with whatever you want to do in the future, but you mustn't participate in this competition anymore. Sophia's position is not stable now. Can you lend her the dance you prepared for the final first? I promise I'll compensate you. I'll take you and Oscar abroad together, and we'll never meet Sophia again for the rest of our lives. Sophia has promised me that as long as she stabilizes her position as the principal dancer, she'll forget all the past favors and will never disturb our lives again." I was so angry that I was speechless. "Oliver, who gave you the confidence to think that I would still abandon my career for love? Your love is just like trash. Loving you is really my shame." I picked up my phone and showed Oliver the video I had just posted. The comments and views were increasing at an astonishing rate. And the title of the video was, "The Plagiarism Road of Chief Dancer Sophia." I finally stood on the stage of the final as I wished. I danced the famous dance that Sophia had plagiarized before. But unlike back then, I made a lot of adaptations on the original framework. I named it Metamorphosis. At first, my toes were still trembling and my mind was blank. The muscle memory formed by days of practice led me forward. I gradually immersed myself in the music. My body seemed to be injected with a powerful force. I freely waved my movements. Every spin, every jump was a silent communication with the audience. The confused and fragile butterfly showed its own brilliance after metamorphosis. I won the championship of the final. Mom was sitting in the audience watching me, crying while clapping for me. There was continuous applause in the auditorium. Fireworks and flower petals began to burst out on both sides of the stage. The scenes that could only appear in my dreams countless times now actually appeared in front of my eyes. After getting off the stage, Ethan rushed up like a puppy. "Teacher Evelyn, I knew you could do it." During these days, there were times when I doubted myself. Sometimes when I was in a low mood, the mocking voices of Oliver and Oscar would ring in my ears. But Ethan had always been very firm. "Teacher Evelyn, your dance is the most vibrant one I've ever seen. You were born to be on the stage. That beam of light was born for you." I took the bouquet of sunflowers from his hand and thanked him sincerely but didn't mention anything more. I just want to enjoy more stages in my limited life. Every day in the future, I will dance in the light. After I released the evidence of Sophia's plagiarism, more people quickly came forward to testify against her. The dance goddess who had always been famous for her originality turned out to be nothing but a habitual plagiarist. Not only did she plagiarize, but she also used dance doubles, which completely smeared the art of dance. The dance troupe completely removed Sophia's name from its list. Having no way out, she could only turn to Oliver again. Back then, Oliver was the only son of the Oliver family and was kidnapped by bad guys to the deep mountains. It was Sophia who secretly set him free. Over the years, Sophia had always emphasized her efforts. So Oliver brought her out of the mountains and even paid for her to study at an expensive art school. He even sacrificed his own marriage to help her succeed. However, unexpectedly, the people who had kidnapped him back then were actually Sophia's parents. They directed and acted in this drama together, completely tying their daughter to the big and wealthy Oliver family. Oliver's eyes were bloodshot and he was unshaven. "Everything is my fault. I took a chance and ended up missing you." He looked at Ethan behind me and sneered at himself. Then he suddenly became serious again. "Evelyn, I'm sorry. I won't disturb your life anymore." I walked straight ahead. When I passed by him, I smelled a strong cigarette smell and heard a soft voice. "I won't let you have any worries either." I stopped in my tracks and frowned. "Oliver, I'm not Sophia. I don't need anyone to cover for me. I'm always happy to see anyone capable surpass me, including Sophia." Oliver's haggard body was on the verge of collapsing. I added the last cruel sentence. "Don't disgust me with your self-righteous efforts anymore." After that, Oliver never came to see me again. I heard that the Oliver family was not in a good state. When we divorced, he left the house with nothing and had hardly any money left. Soon, he couldn't hold on and had to declare bankruptcy. Sophia was taken to court by Oliver. There was not only the kidnapping case from back then, but also some opponents that Sophia had gotten rid of by dirty means with Oliver's help over the years. Oliver's approach was like hurting the enemy 1,000 while losing 800 of his own. He was determined to fight Sophia to the death. With multiple pieces of evidence, both of them were quickly sent to prison. Oscar became an orphan. The video from back then had spread widely. After Oliver went to prison, even fewer people were willing to approach him. At first, Oscar would cry loudly. He begged me outside my house, apologized to my mother, and even kowtowed. Mom, I'm wrong. Can you forgive me?" My mother couldn't bear it, but I just closed the door. Then I dialed Oscar's grandmother's number and asked her to send someone to pick him up quickly. The Oliver family had many descendants, and Oliver had already become the outcast. After Oscar went back, he had to live at the mercy of others. I knew that he missed me terribly. I was the mother who had sacrificed everything for his happiness but wasn't cherished by him. He sneaked out to find me more and more often. At first, he would cry, but later he just remained silent. I didn't want to be soft-hearted. Being soft-hearted would be a betrayal of the hurt self from the past. "Oscar, go back. I'll pay the child support on time. Although you're young, you're not that naive. Our mother-son relationship is over. You brought this upon yourself." I took back the amulet that I had begged for him in person. I cut it into pieces in front of him and threw it into the trash can. I took my mother abroad for further studies and focused on developing my dance career. On the day when I won the Grand Slam award, Ethan proposed to me. In the second year after our marriage, we had a lovely daughter. She was always as obsessed with my stage as Ethan was. "Mommy dances so beautifully. Mom looks like a fairy. She's so beautiful." The two of them kept giving compliments. True love makes people more at ease. When I took my daughter back to China to buy desserts, I met Oscar. He tried his best to hold back his emotions, but his words still came out with a sobbing tone. "Mom, if those things hadn't happened back then, would I still be a happy child today?" I didn't answer and just walked away with my daughter. Broken sobs came from behind us. Even without those things, Oscar wouldn't have been happy. Because happiness requires cherishing and respect. I'm very happy now and just want to move forward with big steps. The past is over, and the future is waiting for me.